Now, some of you are wondering, Andrew, why are you in the kitchen? Why are you holding a spatula? Glad you asked, because today I'm giving you my spiciest DCI top 10, top 20 ranking video yet. Because this is my top 10 uniforms slash costumes, because I know some of you argue about that, and I'm going to give it to you from 2016 to 2026 because I don't want this video being an hour. And also, I know some of you are going to be waiting to roast me in the comment section. And speaking of which, I will be at DCI Little Rock and DCI Hattiesburg and DCI Birmingham attending all three of those shows this year. So if you want to see me in person or if you walk into me, you can say hi, or you could also shred me in person and tell me how much of an idiot I am. Alright, so let's get right on into this top 10. Number 10 is going to be a bit of a surprise, but I saw it a couple of years ago. I saw what the Corps was wearing, and I really thought it looked well. And that is the Madison Scouts 2024 uniforms. They really harken back to some of the things they had done before. It's kind of harkening back to the uniforms they used to have with the white hats and the green uniforms or whatever. But with this year, I like how they had the dark green, but they had black hats and they had the pink in there. And with the show they had, I thought it really added a lot to the design of the show, the striking, and the trying to get the attention of the judges. Because at the end of the day, one of the most important things about DCI shows is the design. And I just think these uniforms are clean. I just think the way the Madison Scouts went with their decision with this, I thought it went really well. Speaking of uniforms that were just clean and they really brought it, I'm going with Troopers 2022 as my number 9 pick. This was the year, again, this is the year that the Troopers made it back into finals for the first time in a long time. And granted, these uniforms weren't that crazy. They didn't really bring a lot, but here's the thing. It was simplistic. They had the gray, and it was about an oil field, and it was about them moving it around. And I really liked how it really made them feel Western like they usually do, right? But I just like the way these uniforms turned out, and I like the way that they pulled this off. Now, before I started making this video, I had my set from 1 to 8. I'm actually going to change it as of right now because the next uniforms I want to put on here are the blue coats from 2019. Now, granted, this year, a lot of the groups had different shades of blue. And granted, these weren't very much so uniforms. These were like, I guess, costumes, if you will. Kind of like tuxedos, kind of. And I really like how it was a throwback to the Beatles and how they did it, and it went really well. Like, I thought they had a lot of swagger. I thought that just the way they pulled it off with the different shades of blue everywhere, moving around this and that, I thought they did it really well. And I know some people start arguing, oh, are these uniforms, are these costumes? I don't care. I think they're cool. Now, speaking of things that aren't necessarily uniforms, but I thought they were really cool, I'm going with the blue coats from 2024 because, again, are these uniforms? Are these costumes? I don't know. All I know is this show in its entirety, as far as the design goes, as far as what they were able to pull off, I thought they did it so well. And I thought with the way they went from the start of having all the white and the red, and then it transitioned to they have the yellow on and they have some of the red, with the way the field was moving, with the way the rectangles were moving, I thought they just did it so well. And at first I wasn't a fan because they weren't using blue at all, even though they were the name of blue coats. I thought that as the show went on and as that year went on, I thought they just pulled it off so well. And going on with things that they pulled off well, the next one, this is going to shock a little bit of people, but I'm going to put Boston 2024 as my next pick. Now, I know some of you old heads are going to be just like, oh, how can you say these are uniforms? How can you say these are good? How can you say that you like these as your top 10 uniforms or costumes of the last 10 years? Hear me out, okay? Yes, they look like the Wiggles if the Wiggles were in DCI. I get that. However, as this year went on, and you'll see that a couple of these shows into 2024, the way that the Crusaders pulled off each of the sections being in different colors, as they pulled off the movement of the colors, and just the way they did this. At first, I absolutely hated these uniforms, but then at the end, or at the last part of that show, they all get in their own little pods, they're moving around. It just works so well at the end. And I'm just like, listen, I know some of you are going to hate these, but this is the way DCI is going. And this is what I want DCI to do, is be very design heavy, but have it to where it pulls in the audience. It pulls in the judges to where, yeah, these aren't traditional uniforms, but it works. My next pick above this is Phantom Regiment 2021. Now picture this. The last 5 years before COVID, Phantom Regiment was trying different uniforms. They were wearing different things. And going into COVID, Phantom Regiment was on a decline. It's like, what is Phantom Regiment doing? Why are they wearing all this? But then, 2021, they pretty much do a throwback show to 2003. They had a bunch of different little shows in there. But the uniforms, when they went harkening back to some of the old years, but they wore black uniforms, I thought this was just one of the more iconic uniforms we've seen just in the last 5 years, because it goes back to the time where uniforms were the same. You kind of knew who everyone was, and to see Phantom Regiment use these again, I thought it was just perfect. Going back into this, I'm going to put in Carolina Crown 2023. Now, hear me out. Yes, these aren't necessarily your traditional uniforms, and the reason I put them here is just how well it worked with their 2023 show, because it was about Camelot. It was a medieval show. It was a show where, yes, it was very much so about King Arthur and all these different vibes to it. But with what Carolina Crown was using, I really felt like with the overall design of the show, I just thought that Crown pulled it off so well this year. And the last couple of years, they've been in a bit of a decline with their design and with everything going on. But this was one of the shows they got right, where the design worked, the props of everything worked so well. And I'm such a fan of these. Now, speaking of something I'm a fan of that some people may not be a fan of, I'm going to put in Blue Devils 2017. Now, hear me out. I know the Blue Devils up until 2020, I know they had the same type of uniforms, but you knew who they were. You knew when the Blue Devils got on the field, you knew, okay, this is them. This is the group that keeps beating everybody. They win every year. This show in particular, it started with everyone in the traditional uniforms. Then as the show kept going on, they took their uniforms off and they had the purple and blue under, and everyone was wearing different colors and this and that. And I really felt like as the show progressed, it really bought into the metamorphosis of their group, because you started off as the traditional style, and then as the show went on, they metamorphed into the modern DCI we see now, where it's not really traditional uniforms, but the design of that show is so iconic. It is obviously the top 5 DCI show of all time. And so just the way the uniforms were done, I just thought they went well. Now, top 2. This was something I had to go back and forth on, but at number 2, I am putting a group some of you aren't expecting. I'm putting Cavaliers 2023, aka their throwback show. Now, getting into this, the Cavaliers at this point, they had used some of their older uniforms, and going into 2022, you kind of knew who they were, but this was the year they brought the Aussie back. They had a flower-esque kind of thing. They had the traditional green uniforms. Even their drum major had some of the traditional, styling of their uniform. But when the Cavaliers got on the field, you knew it was them. Now, granted, their show for that 2023 season was not very strong. I thought there was something lacking, but of course the percussion was well. The brass was pretty decent, but all the throwbacks they had in this show were so iconic that I felt like the overall decision to use the throwback uniforms I thought was so well done. And it just really made me enjoy kind of the days where everyone was kind of wearing traditional uniforms. And I know I'm kind of in the minority here, but I do wish sometimes DCI groups would kind of use their old uniforms, but also they don't have to use Shakos. They don't have to wear hats. That's up to them, really. But just overall, I think for DCI going forward, it's kind of like with prompts. If you're gonna use them, they need to add to the show. They don't need to just be there and be like, "Hey, we're here." And it's like this adds into the show. It adds into the functionality of the show, and I really liked how they pulled it off. And speaking of how they pulled this off, number one, my favorite DCI uniform slash costume of the last 10 years is Santa Clara Vanguard 2018, one of the most iconic DCI shows ever. And with the way they did their costuming and the uniforms, some people are going to get mad and they're going to say, "Why did you put this here?" Hear me out. I kind of wanted to put Blue Coats 2014 on here, but I can't because I did the last 10 years. So then I thought, what is a uniform that when I see it, it's like, that is so cool. It is 2018. It's the Babylon show. It's got swagger to it. It's like, we are here. We're going to blast our notes in your face. Pause. And just the way they moved around the field, with the swagger that what they brought, with the way they designed the show. It wasn't a whole lot of props they used. I get that. It wasn't very, "Oh my gosh, this is insane." But the way the brass was moving, the way the percussion was moving, per usual, just the way that the group was able to pull out the energy and say, "We're here, we're in your face, this is Babylon, we're here to take over, we're here to show why we are one of the big empires," right? And I just really like the way Santa Clara did it. Now, speaking of things you may or may not agree with, if you want to see more of my DCI list, I have another list up right here. And if you want to see more DCI content from DCI Bro, make sure you like and subscribe.